Hey tubers, just making a quick video here. I've been watching the Netanyahu election, and I said in a previous video that if Netanyahu lost, I thought it would be a big problem for Israel because Herzog, Livni, the people that were challenging him, pretty much everyone that was challenging him had the mindset of just kind of laying down and giving over Israel to the Palestinians, doing the two-state solution and basically appeasing the Muslims. The same Muslims that the Palestinians, they say that they want to have the Palestinian state within the West Bank, within East Jerusalem, yet the same people threaten to kill Israel, that they want Israel pushed into the sea, they want them dead, all that stuff. So these politicians that were challenging Netanyahu, as I looked at that, I was thinking, okay, well, if someone unseats Netanyahu and they win, then these are the same people that would lead to the division of Israel, which I believe is the trigger that sets off the full tribulation. This is the thing that God says, okay, I've had enough. You know, Daniel 9:27, he'll confirm a covenant with many for 1 week, which I believe sets off the last week of time before the final second coming of Jesus Christ. So I was watching this yesterday. Netanyahu won. I believe the last count that I saw was his Likud party took 30 seats and the next party only took 24. Now, going into the election, they thought that this was going to be very close. There were even times when Netanyahu was expected to maybe lose, and he was really fighting for his political life. Now, look at this statement. I don't know if you saw this, but this was right before the election went into full swing. Netanyahu's last-minute reversal on the two-state solution. Trailing in the polls ahead of Tuesday's elections, he disavowed the creation of the Palestinian state in an appeal to the right. Now, I don't know if you remember this, but I remember Netanyahu speaking, and I believe it was at the UN. This says back in 2009, just 3 months after he became prime minister, he delivered what was called a historic address. In it, Netanyahu describes his vision of peace between Israel and the Palestinians. And this is his quote: "There are two free peoples living side by side in a small land with good neighborly relations and mutual respect, each with its flag, anthem, and government, with neither one threatening its neighbor's security and existence." Now, this has been said again and again, but in this speech and many other speeches in reference to this very topic, many politicians, including Netanyahu, Obama, John Kerry, anyone that's heavily involved in the negotiations, have repeatedly made references to the peace and security, the peace and safety of Israel. And 1 Thessalonians 5:3 says that they will say peace and safety, or peace and security, it's the same word, and then sudden destruction. "But you, brethren, are not in darkness, that that day should overtake you as a thief." That's the short abbreviated version of that. But basically, Netanyahu, in this statement, reversed that idea. At one point, he supported two states living side by side in peace and security. That was the quote that many were using. Now he goes on to say, there was another quote here, as soon as I find it. Nearly 6 years and 3 Gaza wars later, with his political legacy on the ropes, Netanyahu issued a major retraction on Monday evening. "I think that anyone who is going to establish a Palestinian state today and evacuate lands is giving attack grounds to the radical Islam against the state of Israel." Now, another article that I have here, this is being called an open miracle in Israel. Netanyahu crushes the opposition and wins the election. Now, what I find interesting about Netanyahu is one, he's like the only political figure of current time that I respect. There's many Americans that follow biblical thought, that follow Bible prophecy, that find this man to be the Esther of his time. You know, you're here for such a time as this. Because the story of Esther, Iran, the Persians, Haman, were trying to wipe out the Jewish people, and then Esther interceded with the king, and the king made a decree where the Israelis, the Jews, could defend themselves, and therefore they protected their, they just survived. Haman, the man who brought the thing to the king to wipe out all the Jewish people, he was hung on his own gallows. So now Netanyahu has been referred to as a modern-day Esther, where Persia, Iran is doing the very same thing, trying to wipe out the Jewish people. They've openly said that they want to drive Israel into the sea, that they want to annihilate the Jewish people. And Netanyahu is basically the only thing standing in between that, because he's made it clear that he would defend Israel's sovereignty, security, safety, militarily, by any means necessary, whether America agrees or not. So, yesterday, when the election started, Netanyahu's political career was in question, whether he would carry on and be able to survive. But after the polls are in, it's clear that he stayed in power and actually took a leading far above what was expected. So they're calling this an open miracle. I was very happy to hear that Netanyahu was staying in power. And I want to close this video by saying that now that Netanyahu is in power, again, Obama has been very obvious about his distaste, his disdain for Netanyahu. He's openly shunned him when Netanyahu has come to America. There was one time Netanyahu came to the White House and Obama walked off and had dinner with his wife or something and left Netanyahu waiting in another part of the White House. When Netanyahu recently came to address Congress, Obama was nowhere to be found. All the pictures that they use from when Obama and Netanyahu spoke together, there's always this look of contempt coming from Obama. So, I feel, and this is my opinion, but now that Netanyahu is back in power, I believe that they have failed politically to divide the nation of Israel and create the Palestinian state. So I believe that now this gives the catalyst for the next thing to be war, for them to try to come and take Israel militarily. That leads to the Battle of Gog-Magog in Ezekiel 38 and 39, which is an alliance between Russia, Iran, Turkey, and some other nations. That leads to Psalm 83, which lists all of Israel's local neighbors, such as Syria, Egypt, Lebanon. I don't know if Jordan is involved in that or not, but it describes all of the local neighbors of Israel. So, my final conclusion on this video, what I'm stating now, is that because they have not been able to diplomatically divide the land on paper through peace talks, I believe that several things will happen. Just like Neville Chamberlain went and created a peace treaty with Hitler, and then Hitler went and shortly afterwards invaded Poland, I believe that now they will push forward to the covenant, the peace treaty with Iran, which basically gives Iran the go-ahead to make nukes. It doesn't say that openly, but that's what it does by giving them that ability, by not destroying their facilities, by not destroying their equipment, etc., etc. Now, I believe that they'll make that treaty with Iran, and then also it'll be like the deceit. I believe it's in Psalm 2, maybe, where it talks about they make plans against Israel, against the people of Israel. And I believe that they'll make that treaty with Iran, and just like Neville Chamberlain made the treaty with with Hitler, shortly afterward, World War II began because of Hitler's actions. So I believe that perhaps they'll make the treaty, the covenant, the peace talks with Iran, and then shortly afterward, Iran and all of their proxies, Hezbollah, all of them, Hamas, I believe that they will come militarily against Israel, just like it says in the Gog-Magog war. I just received a text or headline yesterday saying that Obama just recently removed Iran and Hezbollah from our terror lists. How absurd is that? The only way that that's possible is if Obama is one of them. So that's the point that I wanted to make. I'm happy to see that Netanyahu won, because he's the only thing standing between Obama and the division of Israel. He's the only thing standing between Iran just openly nuking Israel, without Israel's retaliation, something like that. So I believe this was a political victory. I believe that God had a hand in this, that Netanyahu is the Esther of his time, and it's being called an open miracle in Israel. So praise the Lord for protecting Israel. I pray for the peace of Jerusalem. I bless Israel. I bless Netanyahu, and I believe that the Lord will glorify his name through his people, and that all his promises to them will be fulfilled. So this is just a clear sign that end time prophecy is coming to pass. I believe that all these things are coming soon. Look at September. The Shemitah cycle ends, the Jubilee cycle begins, and the fourth blood moon, all within like a month of each other. So if you're not aware of that, go look it up. Jesus is coming soon. God bless.